Morning. I was drinking my tea. It's in a bag. Don't ask. It's just how it is. Let's talk about football, shall we? Right then. So yesterday's game was a really good game. People say Man City games are boring, you know, and I can see where they're coming from most of the time. But I mean, yesterday's game was far from boring. I mean, I don't know what it was like for a neutral, but for me, it was another pain. That is the fourth game in 6 games now where we've had to come from 2 goals behind. Obviously, the 2 at the end of last season against West Ham and Villa, and then the Newcastle game, and now this one yesterday against Palace as well. So yeah, my heart's been taking a bit of a battering the last couple of games Man City have been playing. Had that nice break in between, but look, we got the win. That's what was important. That's the most important thing to us. But first, before I get into talking about City, then I think that we need to have a little chat about Palace. Only very quickly, you know, give them their deserved praise, because in that first half, granted, we were not playing great, but they were playing really well, and they had us every which way possible on that football pitch. I hate playing Palace, hate it. Last time I went to a game at the Etihad, so obviously I don't live in England anymore, but when I did, and not when I did, when I last went back before COVID, I managed to get to that game. Was it 2018 or 19 Christmas when Andros Townsend scored that stupidly good volley? And ever since then, they've become a bit of a bogey team for us. The last 11 times that we've played against Crystal Palace now, we've dropped points against them 5 times. I hate playing at Crystal Palace, but fair play to them. They had us all up and down the pitch, all over the place. We were defensively. We couldn't string a pass together. There was one pass that I saw, and I don't want to dig anyone out individually in that first half because all of the players were off it. We just weren't finding Haaland. We weren't giving the ball to him properly. And there was one time that stands out to me, and it's just dead innocuous. Kyle Walker just blasted a pass to Erling Haaland. He was about 5-10 yards away from him, and he just smashed it at him. It was just one of them games, you know, when you just know things aren't going to click for Man City. And then obviously when Palace got the first and their second goal, I knew what it would be. It would be one of them games where we fall behind and we just bang crosses into the box over and over and over and over again. And I didn't want it to become one of them games. But it did become one of them games, especially in the first half, and it didn't really pay, what's the word I'm looking for here? Pay fruition, is that the right word? God knows. But it didn't really come up trumps until the second half, because usually we'd spend the rest of the game crossing the ball against a low block for players 5 foot whatever, right? Now we've got a difference maker in that penalty box when we're forced to sit and play a low block, a low defensive line, whatever you want to call it. We've got a tremendous Nordic meat shield up top now who can really make a difference and who can really get on the end of them crosses, and who we saw finally get on the end of one of them crosses. But we'll come on to him a little bit later. First, before we do, I want to have a little chat about a few other players. And one of them is, if it weren't for Haaland's hat-trick, would be Bernardo Silva. He was great yesterday. He was immense yesterday, especially when we moved him out to the right-hand side, which we'll come on to again in just a minute. But once we did, we got so much more success from Bernardo out on the right yesterday than we did from Riyad Mahrez on the right. And that's not a knock against Riyad Mahrez. I like Riyad Mahrez. Just yesterday, Bernardo worked so much better out on that right-hand side than what Riyad Mahrez did. Everything, once he moved out there, seemed to go through him. The first goal obviously came through him. And a lot of the balls into the box that were dangerous initially came from Bernardo Silva. It is imperative that for the rest of this next week, we keep hold of Bernardo Silva. I can't stress that enough. I know that Chiki and Ferran have both come out and said transfer business is done. It's over. We're not selling or buying any more players this window. And I do tend to believe them that is the case. However, then you have Pep coming out as he does, and quite rightly, which we can get onto as well, quite rightly says, if a player doesn't want to be here, if they're not happy, then we've got no issue of letting them go and letting them move on. And I do agree with the club when we say that. I do agree that the right thing to do is not keep around players who are unhappy. And Bernardo obviously is unhappy at something, unhappy at whatever it is. I just don't think he likes Manchester, or I just don't think he likes England. I think he wants to go somewhere a bit warmer. He wants, you know, whatever, you know, it happens. You know, I grew up in Manchester. I know what it's like. I love Manchester, but I think if you're born there, you sort of learn to love it a little bit more. So yeah, so Bernardo does want out, obviously, but it is important that we keep hold of him because he's so important. And to replace a player like Bernardo Silva, you need to plan to get somebody in the long term to replace Bernardo Silva. You can't just go out and buy somebody in the hopes that they're going to be as good and give you the same output as Bernardo Silva does, because it's not going to happen. He's such a difference maker in this team. And that also leads me on to the next person that I want to talk about as well, which is Mr. Whippy himself, Ilkay Gundogan. This guy has to play. He's essential in that midfield. Him, Kev, and Rodri, that should be our three in midfield for as long as we can play it. All right? On the right-hand side, Bernardo was way more effective than in the middle. I don't mind Bernardo playing in the middle, but Gundogan just is in that position such a step up on he's so complementary to Kevin De Bruyne and to Rodri as well. He's all over the place, and you can tell, again, just like when Bernardo moved out to the right, when Gundogan came on, how the whole game changed for us. The whole game changed when that happened. It's so important that we get this guy playing. Showed it in the Aston Villa game at the end of last season. He showed it in the game against Newcastle when he was all over the place there as well and dug us out of a hole. And he showed it again today when he came on. And those two people, I would put up for my man of the match if it wasn't for the earlier noted tremendous Nordic meat shield himself up top, Erling Braut Haaland. Man, you could see it on Pep's face. You could see it on Pep's face. This guy is the one. This guy is the one. For the last 2 years, Aguero, for his final season, was basically, unfortunately, non-existent in the team due to injuries and everything else that was going on with Sergio Aguero that season. And last year, we didn't have a typical out-and-out striker, as Jesus was playing out on the left, and we had Sterling running through the middle, and we know how much Jesus loved the offside flag. We know how inconsistent Raheem Sterling was with his finishing one-on-one. Now we know if we need to play a game like we did yesterday in the first half and the early parts of the second half, where we've got to bang crosses into the box, we've got a 6'4" monster in there who's going to get on the end of them crosses. If we play it through and we split the defense with a De Bruyne or a Bernardo or a Gundogan pass, and he goes through to him. That third goal, his third goal, his hat-trick goal, where he just swatted off the defender, kept his balance and kept his poise and just smashed it into the back of the net. Man, Erling Haaland is such a special player. 6 goals in 4 games now. His first hat-trick, he's had 1 assist already. This guy's just going to keep on scoring goals for fun. For fun. And I can't wait. I can't wait. We've got him for what, at least, well, contract-wise, at least for the next 5 years. And I know everyone keeps saying, oh, he's going to move on to Real Madrid, he's going to do whatever. This guy could literally stay here if he chooses to stay here. He could stay here for 10 years like Sergio Aguero could, and he could break every single goal-scoring record that this team has put up, that plays in this squad has put up. This guy is special. He is magic, Erling Haaland. Now, to finish off talking about the game yesterday, I want to touch on, this is another reason why we can't get rid of Bernardo, by the way, just the depth of the squad. I know people are going to laugh at me because we're Man City and we've got all these players and whatever, but we have let a lot of players go, and we're still letting players go. There's talk of, I don't know if it's confirmed or not, by the time I'm doing this video, I've not heard it's 100% confirmed, but I think we're letting Luke Mbete go as well on loan. Obviously, we've lost Jesus, we've lost Zinchenko, we've lost Sterling this year. And if you look at the bench yesterday, Calvin Phillips is out injured. A few niggles, apparently it's only a short-term injury, which is good. But essentially, we had Stefan Ortega on the bench. We had Nathan Ake on the bench, was it? I can't even remember who was on the bench yesterday. But essentially, it was like 3 first-team players. Gundogan, Alvarez, that was it. I don't think Ake was even there, was he? So we had Ortega, Gundogan, Alvarez on the bench yesterday. And then it was like Cole Palmer, who's just breaking into the team. Brandon Lewis. Isn't that the money saving? Isn't that the MP or the money saving expert guy? Not him. No, Rico Lewis. Sorry, and a couple of other kids who I can't remember off the top of my head right now. So Claudio Gomez was on the bench yesterday. Where's he come back from? I thought he'd long gone. But yeah, so the bench right now, the team right now is looking very thin. If we get hit with a couple of more injuries, it's not going to be looking too good for us, and that's why I'm kind of ruining the fact that we've let so many people go. And again, although I do agree with we don't keep people when they're not happy, and I'm loving the fact that some of the academy kids are getting a bit more of a chance, I'm just a little bit worried that the injuries might pile up. We've got a nice break over Christmas. We haven't, because most of them will go off to the World Cup, but yeah, I'm just a little bit worried. But that's about it for the game yesterday. All in all, obviously very, very happy with the final results. We're still unbeaten this year. Long may it continue. Catching up to the mighty Arsenal, eh? A couple of mates back home will be happy about that. Let's have a chat about the rest of the football. Right. So, starting with yesterday's games, we had Arsenal. Well, no, we didn't actually. The first game was Man United, but we'll talk about them in a minute. We had Arsenal first, which I'm going to talk about, against Fulham. They were the last game, not the first game. And it was a scary one for them, wasn't it? It was a scary one for them. Unbeaten so far, not even dropped a point yet so far in the league. So fair play to Arsenal. Well done to Mikel Arteta. It's great to see Gabriel Jesus getting the game time that he deserves, because I do like Gabriel Jesus a lot. I just don't think he'd necessarily get a lot of game time with us this year. So I'm happy that he's getting games somewhere else. I'm happy he's doing so well. I know Zinchenko did he play yesterday? I don't know. I know he didn't start yesterday. But I'm glad both of those two guys are doing well down there. I've got a couple of Arsenal mates as well who I know are very happy with Gabriel Jesus and Zinchenko. So well done to them. Obviously, mix up at the back with Gabriel. He got it caught in his feet, lost the ball out to Mitrovic, who banged his 4th goal of the season home, and looked like they were going to nick the victory until 2 fairly late goals from a deflected Odegaard shot, and then Gabriel making up for his previous mistake by slotting home that winner from a corner later on. Yeah, Brentford and Everton, bit of a... I only saw the highlights for all of them actually. Seemed like a bit of a nothing game. I mean, it's Brentford and Everton. Brentford are a good team, really good team. Probably disappointed to not pick up much from Everton actually, because Everton are not great at the minute. Really not great at the minute. Gordon scored a great goal. Good goal from them. But again, I think they scraped a draw more than battled for a point. Man United against Southampton. Man United, back-to-back wins for Man United. Are they back? Is this it? The protest's going to go away now? Is it time to put the gold and green away, is it, in Norwich fans? Yeah, look, they won 1-0. I watched the game in the pub before I watched the City game, and they weren't really impressive, to say anything. They kind of scraped it. Last sort of 10 minutes were very rocky for them. I thought Southampton could have possibly nicked something. Southampton's home kit looks like an away kit, by the way, so that needs to change. I'm not having any of that. I'm not happy with that. Leicester and Chelsea. Chelsea scraped it again. Leicester should have had a goal that was disallowed, that shouldn't have been disallowed. From what I can see, there was nothing wrong with that first Leicester goal. It should have stood. Chelsea are... What's a good word for Chelsea at the minute? I'm not going to say struggle. I mean, they've had a great start to the season, but I wouldn't say they're struggling, but they're definitely not up to scratch at the minute. Nice to see Raheem score a couple of goals for him. Not been too happy with a couple of comments that he's been making since he left, but you know what I mean, he left, he's gone now. Fair play to him, he's still scoring goals. He will always score goals. He's a great player. I still love him. He's just no longer top of the league, is he? Leeds and Brighton. I didn't actually see any of this game. I didn't even see the highlights for this game. Didn't even know those two were played yesterday, but Brighton got a 1-0 win. Two pretty informed sides. Brighton doing very well. I like the way Brighton play football, and good on them for getting the win against Leeds. Like I say, I didn't see that game. And then the Liverpool game, the relegation scrappers themselves, Klopp's 7-season syndrome, come up against the mighty Bournemouth. Everyone's been bigging up Scott Parker, but I'm sorry, if you lose 9-0, I tweeted this out yesterday, if you lose 9-0, it should be an automatic relegation. What are you doing? 9-0. I mean, I know Liverpool are Liverpool, and obviously they weren't going to be down there for very long. They're always going to come back eventually, and they will, I'm sure. They will be up there in no time. But they obviously not had the best start to the season, and I know it's Bournemouth, but they could have at least tried. You know what I mean? They could have at least tried. But fair play to Liverpool. Obviously 9-0's an amazing scoreline to win by, but Bournemouth just have a word. Have a word, eh? Have a word. Right, that'll do it then, I think. First weekend roundup of football. I'm sorting stuff out, so we'll get there in the end, but thank you very much for joining me. It's been a pleasure. If you've enjoyed the video, if you want to see a bit more of this, I look forward to talking a bit more about football. I'm going to do a video soon on on the Champions League, which I'm sure you'll all love. If any of you know my views on the Champions League, then I'm sure you'll know what video is coming up, or at least the topic that I'm going to talk about. But yeah, like and subscribe to the video if you like it. I'll see you soon.